कुंज बिहारी जय जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजना यशोदानंदन यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजना यामुनतीरा वनचारी यामुनतीरा यामुनतीरा वनचारी यामुनतीरा राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी राधा माधव जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। श्री रुक्मणी द्वारकाधीश की जय। श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। So reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 9, Chapter 18, Text 40. Shri Yadur Uvacha Na Notsahe Jarasasthatum Antara Praptaya Tava Aviditva Sukham Gramyam Vaitrishnayam Naiti Purushaha. Can everybody repeat? Then I'll do a different thing. Canto 9, Chapter 18, Text 2. Sri Duravacha, Text 40. Praptaya tava aviditva sukham gramyam Vaitrishnayam naiti purushaha. Shri Duravacha Notsahe jarasasthatum Antara praptaya tava Viditva sukham gramyam. Okay, Mataji. Okay, so Mataji, is anybody? Sahejarasasthatum. Okay. Okay, so I'll start here. So, okay, thank you. Tarabra. I think I'll start here. Thank you very much. Word to word meaning. Shri Yadu Vacha. Yadu, the eldest son to Yayati, replied, "Now Utsahe, I am not enthusiastic. Jarasa, with your old age and invalidity. Sthatum, to remain. Antara, while in youth. Praptaya, accepted. Tava, your. Aviditva, without experiencing. Sukham, happiness. Gramayam, material or bodily. Vaitrishnayam, indifference to enjoyment. Na, does not. Eti, attain. Purushaha, a person." Translation and Prabhupada by Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada ki jai. Yadu replied, "My dear father, you have already achieved old age, although you also were a young man. But I do not welcome your old age and invalidity, for unless one enjoys material happiness, one cannot attain renunciation." Okay, so I'm going to read purport line to line and explain that. That's what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to offer prayers. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisheshu Manati Paschadeshta. Okay, so Srila Prabhupada writes in his purport, and he begins his purport by the statement, "Renunciation of material enjoyment is the ultimate goal of human life." Now, one thing, when we read Prabhupada purports, of course we all know Prabhupada purports are very special to us because Prabhupada didn't write his purports. It is written by Krishna. Prabhupada always said, these purports are ecstasy. So his every line is important, and what I'm going to show you by this lecture, what I'm trying to do is to show you that although we think that Prabhupada purports are not that systematic, it seems like that, because Prabhupada purports are not in points. So generally we say, okay, what is faith? So we have 4 points, 1 point, 2 point, 3 point, 4 point. Prabhupada purports are, at least explicitly, it's not like that. Doesn't seem systematic, but when you read each statement of Prabhupada, it is more than systematic. Every statement is connected to next statement via logic. When Prabhupada is writing, he's speaking, there's an undercurrent theme going on. And that's what we have to understand from this verse. And we can understand Prabhupada purports if we put them in context. So what does Prabhupada say? Prabhupada says, renunciation of material enjoyment is the ultimate goal of human life. And this first statement looks odd to us because ultimate goal of human life is love of God. It's not renunciation. And Prabhupada says renunciation of material enjoyment is ultimate goal of human life. It appears as a contradiction. Because we say, Krishna Pum Artho Prem Mahan. Goal of life is love of God. Prabhupada says renunciation. But it is not. Because 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita is perfection of renunciation. The name of the chapter is perfection of renunciation. So Prabhupada is bringing the point that renouncing objects is not perfection of renunciation. Renouncing ideas is perfection of renunciation. The idea of selfish enjoyment. That is, we have to renounce ideas and not objects. And that is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says. People who renounce objects, they are false renunciates. People who renounce ideas, nirbandha Krishna sambandhe yukta vairagya muchyate. You renounce the idea that everything belongs to me. And how do you renounce that idea? By accepting a good idea. That nirbandha Krishna sambandhe, everything belongs to Krishna. And this is true renunciation. So that is why Prabhupada says renunciation is the ultimate goal of human life. Because in reality, renunciation means attachment to God. That's what is renunciation. Renouncing your selfish desires and accepting good ideas, good plan. This is where Bhagavad Gita begins. This is what is Bhagavad Gita all about. The first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, interestingly, is observing the armies. Actually, in Sanskrit, the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita is Vishad Yoga in Sanskrit, original text. But Prabhupada names it as not Vishad Yoga. The literal translation of Vishad Yoga is Vishad means sorrow and Yoga means linking. So literal translation of Vishad Yoga means linking with God with sorrow. And it doesn't really make some sense. But Prabhupada names this chapter differently. He names it Observing the Armies. Because that's what Bhagavad Gita is all about. Duryodhan is observing the army in a different way. Arjuna is observing the same army in a different way. Krishna is observing the same setup in a different way. All three observing same scene, same people, same battlefield in different ways. And all three come to different conclusions. Duryodhan observes the army. Okay, this is the army and I have to kill it. I have to kill them and win. That's his conclusion. He observes the army out of hate. Arjuna observes the army out of compassion and he says, I don't want to kill anybody, I want to go back and just sit. But Krishna observes the army from a very different angle. Duryodhan wants to fight, Krishna also wants to fight, but they come to different conclusions. And Duryodhan comes to conclusion, I shall kill everybody. Krishna comes to conclusion, I shall kill everybody. But Prabhupada interestingly says, Duryodhan has an idea. You see the concept of idea. Duryodhan has a selfish idea. I want to kill everybody for my happiness. And why Krishna wants to kill everybody? And Prabhupada explains in first chapter, text number 32 to 34. There Prabhupada writes in the purport, Krishna can tolerate offenses to himself, but Krishna cannot tolerate offenses to his devotees. Prabhupada writes there, Krishna wants to take revenge. That is Krishna. So Krishna, we say he's ocean of love, yes. Ocean of mercy, yes. He's ocean of revenge, yes. He wants to take revenge. Why he wants to take revenge? Because to show what is love. Love without revenge is no love. What do you do with love? If somebody hits your lover, beloved, you have to take a revenge. And that's how his idea to kill everybody was to take revenge. The idea to take revenge was to establish love in this material world. Just as devotees love me, I love my devotees. That was his idea. So you see, this first statement, Prabhupada actually helps us to understand that the ultimate goal of human life is to observe this material world from a different perspective. That's what we are doing here. That's what we are learning. And at the end of Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna says, okay, Krishna, I want to fight because I understand your observation. I understand your perspective. I understand your idea. Okay, but the point is, to become detached to objects is very easy. But to become detached to ideas is very difficult. We have our own ideas, and to get them out, it's very difficult. Arjun has his own idea to not to fight. And Krishna took 40 minutes to convince him, forget your stupid ideas, nonsense ideas, accept my idea. Oh, you're not sure? It's come here. Anyway, it's okay. I think I'm pretty sure now. Anyway, yeah, thank you for that. So, yeah, it's very difficult to get rid of our own ideas. We have our own all hang-ups since millions of lives. And more difficult than getting rid of ideas is more difficult to being detached to ideas is becoming detached to our own attachments. That's the worst thing. To become detached to objects is okay and not required. To become detached to ideas, that's required. But to become detached to attachment to those ideas, that's almost impossible. We are all attached to our own ideas. So how to get rid of this attachment to our own ideas? Now, first thing is, attachment is beyond logic. You can't understand attachment by logic, is it? So you like your girlfriend, and somebody asks you, why do you like your girlfriend? She's not that beautiful. You could have maybe liked some actress or some Hollywood actress. She's more beautiful, no? So that person will say, well, I fell into love. I don't know why I like her, but I like her. So that's beyond logic, Attachment is beyond, when you fall in love, you fall in love. Why? I don't know. I myself don't know why. So to counteract poison, you need poison. A thorn by a thorn, logic by logic, attachment by attachment. You cannot get rid of attachments by logical understanding. To get rid of attachments, you need to become attached to something else. No? That's what Prabhupada says, to become attached to higher things. That's what we observe in this material world. No? So we observe that people who are attached to drugs, they become detached to everything around them. They don't know what's going on. And to become attached to a person, how do you become attached to a person? If you become attached to Krishna, you become detached from this material world. But how do you become attached to Krishna? Not by logic, but by service. So you observe this word. People who serve somebody, as you serve him, you understand his mind, you understand his nature, you understand his thoughts. You go in his personality and you realize, oh, he's a good person. And then we become attached. So it's similarly with Krishna. So it starts with service. We serve him. Slowly we enter his mind. That is Bhagavad Gita all about. Bhagavad Gita is not a book. It's mind of God. Krishna is saying, see, here I am. We are interested to know form, name and qualities of God. But a true devotee is interested to know mind of God. Because Prabhupada said, somebody asked Prabhupada, what is Krishna consciousness? There are many answers to this. What is Krishna consciousness? But Prabhupada said, Krishna consciousness means to always think of Krishna. That we understand. Next statement, somewhere in lecture, Prabhupada says, Krishna consciousness means that Krishna is conscious of you. He said that also. So when you're conscious of Krishna and he's pleased with you, he becomes conscious of you. But then Prabhupada says in one of his lecture, highest perfection of Krishna consciousness is that when you're conscious, that Krishna is conscious of you. That's the highest perfection. And that's difficult to do. When you're conscious, when you're conscious that Krishna is conscious of you every second. So, how this happens? When you know Krishna, his mind, his nature, and we can appreciate his pure nature, his pure mercy, his humbleness, his strongness, his cruelty, his mercy, his revenge, his love, then we understand, we should be attached to him. So, that is where Prabhupada makes the next statement. Therefore, Varnashram institution is more scientific. It's coming? Therefore, Varnashram institution is more scientific. It takes time to know somebody. It's not just one day. It takes time, no? To know somebody and to become attached to him. to serve him and know him. So Varnashram institution is more scientific because it provides us the opportunity to have time to know this person, Krishna. You can be in your life, but at the same time, when you lead your life, your life is designed in such a way so that you come to know who is this person, Krishna. You serve him, you know him, you understand him, you contemplate, and then you become attached to him. That is why Prabhupada brings this concept of Varnashram institution, suddenly. You see Prabhupada's understanding, how he develops, and Prabhupada says it's more scientific. Because science means observation, experiment, hypothesis, theory. That's how we did. The first statement was renounced from material enjoyment. We observed how do people become renounced from anything by becoming attached to something else. So we applied the same technology, same principle here. When we become attached to Krishna, we become renounced to everything. That's all. So okay, when you become attached to Krishna, what happens? Prabhupada says, Varnashram institution, it aims at giving one facility to return home back to Godhead. When you become attached to Krishna, we go to him because Krishna becomes satisfied when we become attached to him. That's what Krishna wants. Krishna is so nice that when we become attached to him, we become satisfied. It's same in material world, no? Prabhupada says in first canto, right in first chapter, second chapter, Prabhupada says, it is natural psychology of a boy, of a person to hear his own glories. That's an interesting statement. I never found this statement anywhere. In all Prabhupada letters, lectures, and only in Bhagavatam once. So that's another point. When we read Prabhupada books, sometimes Prabhupada speaks one line, but that's the conclusion of entire philosophy. Prabhupada says it's natural psychology of a person to hear his glories. Krishna is not exempt from that psychology. So Prabhupada says, because we like to hear our glories, this means Krishna also likes to hear his own glories. So by understanding ourselves, we can understand Krishna. By understanding Krishna, we can understand ourselves. It goes both ways. So, why Krishna becomes happy when we become attached to him? It's same. When somebody becomes attached to us, we become happy, no? It's our psychology. It's coming from Krishna. When anybody becomes attached to Krishna, he becomes happy because he knows that if anybody becomes attached to us, their life will be spoiled. But if anybody becomes attached to Krishna, his life is successful. He knows that. So that's why Prabhupada says, the aim of Varnashram is to return back to Godhead, Hari Tattva Karanam, which one cannot do without completely renouncing all connections with material world. So to become attached to God 100%, you need to be detached from this material world 100%. Prabhupada said in one of his lectures, if you like even, I think he was at samosa gulab jamun, if you like even one gulab jamun, you have to come back to this material world. What do you do with that? It's difficult to get rid of all attachments. You have to come back in this material world to taste that gulab jamun. You have to take another word to taste that stupid gulab jamun, whatever that gulab jamun is. So, what to do? That's what Prabhupada says. From completely renouncing all connections with material world, then we can go back to Godhead. So then Prabhupada says, how to do it? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Nishkinchanasya bhagavad bhajon mukhasya. Prabhupada gives the evidence for that. And Prabhupada is training through his purports. Whenever we preach, we always have to give evidence. Prabhupada always said, give a verse. Give a verse. Prabhupada says, Nishkinchanasya bhagavad bhajon mukhasya. One who wants to go back to Godhead, one must be nishkinchan. Yeah, this word nishkinchan is very important. Do you know what's this word? Akinchan means poor, and nishkinchan means completely poor. Ni is Sanskrit prefix, which means nihishesh or abhinivesh or nivesh. Fully, Prabhupada says, free from all affinity from material enjoyment. Prabhupada uses this word all. Because this is meaning of nishkanchan. If you want to attain God, you have to be poor. Not poor in wealth, but poor in ideas. poor in your selfish ideas. Krishna accepts him. Yudhishthira Maharaj, he was the king of entire world. He was the most wealthy. At the same time, he was the most poor person. That's a devotee. Devotee is wealthy, the most wealthy. What wealth Krishna is looking for you, in you? The wealth of ecstatical symptoms. Prabhupada says in one of his purport, Krishna likes beautiful devotees. And who is beautiful? In Krishna's eyes, those people, those devotees who are beautiful, who are ornamented with symptoms of ecstasy, who are ornamented with tears in their eyes and not with coryllium. You call us coryllium? Kajal? What do you call it? So with tears in eyes, who are ornamented with ecstatical hairs when they stand on, when they chant holy names. That's a dress. Dress of a devotee is their standing of hairs. The beautification of eyes is the tears of a devotees. And his voice, Krishna likes the voice. Voice is ornamented, neck is ornamented not by necklaces. Neck is ornamented by kampa, by when voice falters when you speak Hare Krishna. That's what he's looking for. Prabhupada says in Nectar of Devotion, chapter 22. Then he says, oh, he's a beautiful devotee. So that's external beauty. And internal beauty he's looking for, he wants to see you are completely poor, you're in poverty. Poverty of your own ideas. You just have Krishna's ideas. So devotee is simultaneously wealthy and poor. That's his word, Nishkinchanasya. And then Prabhupada says, he quotes this, Brahmani upashamashrayam. This is a famous verse from Bhagavatam. Tasmad gurum prapadde jigyasu shreyattamam shabde parecha nishnatam brahmani upashamashrayam. 11th canto, 3rd chapter, 21st verse. Yeah. So Prabhupada says, okay, unless one is fully renounced, one cannot engage in devotional service or stay in Brahman. That's not there. Okay, unless one is fully renounced, one cannot engage in devotional service. Upashamashraya means renounced. Brahmani means God. You cannot connect to God unless you are fully free of all ideas. Okay, but now Prabhupada takes a twist here. Prabhupada says devotional service is rendered on Brahman platform. Therefore, unless one attains Brahman platform or spiritual platform, one cannot engage in devotional service. Or in other words, person engaged in devotional service is already on Brahman platform. Prabhupada is bringing a point. How to become engaged in service of God? How to become attached to God? By becoming detached from this material world. But then how to become detached? That's a question. By becoming attached to God. So there's a twist here. So devotional service is both means and ends. That's the idea. That's the principle Prabhupada is bringing. Is both means and ends. By trying to become attached to God, you become detached. And as you become detached, you become attached to Him. It goes both ways. And that's why Prabhupada quotes this verse. Mam ja vivicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunyan samtutyan brahma vihaya kalpate. This is a principle of Sri Sampradaya. Bhakti is both means and ends. At least they focus on it very much. So we don't need any external process. But the point here is, by devotion, we transcend modes of material nature. That means by devotion we get detachment from this material world. That's a gift of God. That's a gift of God. And that is a symptom to know whether we are advancing or not. That is why Prabhupada says, renunciation of material enjoyment is goal of human life. Because only by renunciation of material enjoyment you can know that you are becoming attached to God. We cannot know we are becoming attached to God if we experience bliss. Bliss is not the parameter which you have to judge that I am becoming attached to God. Bhagavatam doesn't say that. Janyati ashu vairagyam jnanam chatad ahitukam. Bhagavatam says, the more you are becoming detached, this is a symptom of attachment. So, Prabhupada says here, okay, when you become attached to God, Krishna gives you the evidence, okay. Yes, my dear devotee, you're becoming attached to me. How do I know Krishna? Krishna will not tell us. He's not going to speak us. We have to figure it out. We might dance in kirtans, that's very nice, but by that you cannot know. You're becoming attached. Prabhupada says in 11th canto, Prabhupada quotes Madhvacharya, 11th canto. Prabhupada says, how do we know we are becoming advanced in devotion? Prabhupada quotes Madhva. Madhva says, Keschit bhaiye linga pradarshika. Some people dance in ecstasy, but you cannot know whether he's advanced or not, because sometimes new devotees dance more than senior devotees now. New devotees appear more enthusiastic than senior devotees. At least they appear like that. So by bliss you can't know, by dance you can't know. Keschit antarasyu. Some people are introspective, meditative. They chant more. They do sadhana more. By that also you can't know whether a person is advanced or not. Because you all remember, when we were new, we used to chant more. But as years pass on, many times our chanting becomes very lax. It happens like that. So you can't know by both things. How you can know? You can know by mukha prasada dharyatcha. Only two symptoms you can know whether a person is advancing or not, and yourself. By mukha prasadat, by his words, what he speaks, by your realizations, by your knowledge, you can know whether you're advanced or not. And second is by your renunciation. How much you're detached from this material world. Bliss can be confusing. Bliss can be confusing, no? So how many times we have felt, I am the 8th Goswami? Maybe many times, now I'm advanced. But how many times after feeling like that, we've fallen down? Our mind gets disturbed. It happens so many times to all of us, years after years. So you can't check by bliss. Bliss can be a shadow rather than a substance. It can be confusing. But what cannot be confusing is renunciation from material world. Maya, illusion, can give you bliss to confuse you, but she will never give you renunciation from this world. Because that's what is all about. If you're renounced, you're attached to Krishna. Finish. She'll never give you. But if you're getting that gift of renunciation, yes, this means we are advancing. If we are not attracted from this material world, prakartim cha hata ojasam, Bhagavatam says, illusory energy will lose grip on you. Attraction will lose grip on you. But here's the point. When you get this gift of renunciation from Krishna, you have to safeguard it. You have to nurture it. Because as Krishna gives you the gift, there are many people to snatch it away. Illusion can again take it back. So we have to take care of that gift of renunciation like a child is taken care of by mother. And that's what Prabhupada brings the point here, that devotion will help to nurture that renunciation. And then when we become renounced, we become fully attached to Krishna. Okay, so this is the first paragraph. Now we come to second paragraph. Second paragraph is what is this verse is all about. Now here Prabhupada begins second paragraph. Can we come to second paragraph? Second paragraph, I just want. Maharaj Yadu was different from his brothers. Is there? Oh, you have to go down. Yeah. Okay, Maharaj Yadu was different from his brothers. Now Prabhupada is coming to the context. When we understand that we have to renounce our ideas and not objects, we have to be completely detached from our own plans, own observations, own ideas. We have to accept observations of Krishna, just as Arjuna did. Otherwise we'll end up in problems. And it takes time. If you keep that in point, now you will understand what's happening here. Maharaj Yadu was different from his brothers. Maharaj Yadu didn't accept. The context is Yayati Maharaj. He wanted to exchange his youth with Maharaj Yadu, we all know. Yayati Maharaj went to his son, 5 sons. 4 sons they denied. I don't want to exchange youth. Yayati Maharaj, he wanted to enjoy with his wife. Maybe he was becoming old. And he thought, my God, I want to again become young. I want to have that enjoyment. And Yayati Maharaj was saying, okay, fine. Let me exchange youth with my sons. His 4 sons, previously they denied. Come on, we don't become too... You have enjoyed your life and you want us to become old and we don't enjoy life? No, we don't accept your proposal. Yayati Maharaj went to Yadu. Yadu also denied. You see, same thing. Yadu denied, his 4 brothers denied, but Yadu's refusal was different from his 4 brothers. because his perspective was very different. Just like Krishna's will to fight was very different from Duryodhan's will to fight. Their observation was very different. That's what Prabhupada is coming to the point. Maharaj Yadu was very different from his brothers. As stated in next verse, Turvasa chodeta pitra druyus chanus cha bharata prataksha chakyur adharmakya. Maharaj Yadu's brothers refused to accept their father's proposal because they were not completely aware of dharma. Is there? To accept orders that follow religious principles, especially the orders of one's father, is very important. Okay? To follow the orders of father is very important. Those 4 brothers refused. So they were irreligious. Therefore, when brothers of Maharaj Yadu refused the father's order, this was certainly irreligious. Maharaj Yadu's refusal, however, was religious. See? Oh, it's not there. Okay. Brothers, Maharaj Yadu's refusal was, however, religious. Maharaj Yadu's brothers, they refused. Their refusal was irreligious. Maharaj Yadu's refusal was, however, religious. I think that line is missing. Little up. That purport has to go up. So you understand? So that is why Prabhupada says Maharaj Yadu was completely aware of principles of religion. This Maharaj Yadu was completely aware of principles of religion. What is a principle of religion? Now Prabhupada is coming to this point. The first principle of religion is that intentions can change actions. That is very important. If you read all Dharma Shastras, there are around 32 Dharma Shastras. Most common is Manu Samhita. If you read all of them, the underlying principle is intentions can change actions. So, actions of Yadu Maharaj and actions of his brother is same. His brothers refused, we will not exchange youth. Yadu Maharaj refused, I will not exchange youth. But one action is irreligious, one action is religious. Prabhupada says Maharaj Yadu's action was religious. Why? Because intention of Yadu's Maharaj brothers were to enjoy, selfish. They are attached to their own ideas. But Yadu Maharaj's intention is very different. He didn't refuse because of self-enjoyment. He didn't refuse youth because of self-enjoyment. Why he refused? Prabhupada says, why he refused. Maharaj Yadu was completely aware of principles of religion. Ultimate principle of religion is to engage oneself in devotional service of Lord. Yes. It's missing actually a little bit. It's not going. The ultimate principle of religion is to engage oneself in devotional service of Lord. Can you navigate it like properly? Because the lines are missing. Because what I'm saying, the ultimate principle of religion is to engage oneself in devotional service of Lord. This is a point. Intention of Yadu Maharaj was not to exchange youth because he wanted to practice devotion. That's why he refused. Intention of his brothers was, no, we want to enjoy. So one action becomes irreligious, one action becomes religious. That is what is Bhagavad Gita all about. Arjuna was saying, I will not fight Krishna because of compassion. Krishna told you, fool, your definition of compassion is nonsense. Compassion in ordinary terms is religious, but at this point of time, your compassion is irreligious because your compassion is coming from the intention that, well, I should not kill and it is good thing, so I'll be happy. I will be happy. He's attached to his own ideas of compassion. Krishna says, no. Compassion with this intention is wrong. You have to change your intention and then do compassion. And Krishna told, okay, fine. You want to be compassionate? Kill them. This is real compassion. Because sometimes killing is also compassion. Prabhupada says in one of his lecture, he says, Mahaprabhu initiated the movement of para upkar, compassion. Then Prabhupada says there, compassion means fighting. Because ultimately, Krishna said, Arjuna, you're a fool. If you don't fight, you're being compassionate. What these people are going to do, Kauravas, they're going to finish entire world with their nonsense ideas. They're going to make people atheistic. So killing them will help ignorant people. And that is what is intention. Krishna wants to change our intentions behind the action. So that's the first principle of religion. Through intentions, actions can change. Two persons may have knife. One person, Prabhupada gives this example. One person is a terrorist, another person is a surgeon. Same action, putting knife in the stomach. But one action is irreligious, killing. Another action is religious, saving the life. So we have to understand that principle. Okay, I'll go quickly. So next principle is, Maharaj Yadu was very eager to engage in Lord's service, but there was an impediment. During youth, the material desire to enjoy material senses is certainly present. And unless one fully satisfies his lusty desires in youth, there is a chance of being disturbed in rendering service to the Lord. This is an interesting statement. We have, unless one fully satisfies lusty desires in youth, there is chance of being disturbed in rendering service to Lord. So what should we do? We should enjoy or what? What Prabhupada is proposing. We should fulfill all our desires. This is like almost like Rajneesh philosophy, you know. We enjoy to the maximum, and then Prabhupada is coming to this point. We have actually seen many sannyasis who accept sannyas prematurely, not having satisfied their material desires, fall down because they are disturbed. Therefore, general process is to go through grihastha life and vanprastha life, finally come to sannyas. Develop oneself completely to service of Lord. This is the second principle of religion Yadu understood. Yadu understood. It's very, why are we attached to anything? Because we crave for enjoyment. That's the root cause of our attachment. You crave for enjoyment for matter, you become attached to matter. You crave for enjoyment with Krishna, you become attached to Krishna. Yadu understood the second principle of devotion, of religion. That's in Narad Bhakti Sutra. Tat sukha sukhitvam. Krishna never says you don't enjoy. Krishna says you enjoy with me. Because when you enjoy with him, you become attached to him. That's what Krishna says. And Maharaj Yadu understood that's what is household life all about. In Varnashram. You have your kids, you have your children, but you enjoy with them with Krishna. You have them with Krishna. So you enjoy with them and you add Krishna and then you become attached to him. That's what is all about Varnashram. This is the second principle. By giving enjoyment to Krishna, you get enjoyment. By giving him enjoyment, if you find, Prabhupada says in Elevation to Krishna Consciousness, try to find happiness in the happiness of Lord. That Prabhupada writes. So that's what is all about, second principle of religion. We have to find happiness in happiness of Lord. And then we become attached to him. How to do that? How do we do that? You can do that. It's very simple. One idea is, if your spiritual master is happy, Krishna is happy. Okay, fine. If devotees are happy, Krishna is happy. Fine. But suppose if you're in a forest, there's no devotee, there's no spiritual master. How do you know Krishna is happy? So there's one way you can know Krishna is happy. If you want to find happiness in happiness of Lord, read pastimes of Krishna. In Krishna's pastime, if Krishna is happy, we are happy. If Krishna is sad, we are sad. See, you can relate with him. And that's why Prabhupada wanted every devotee to read Krishna book at least 1 hour, 45 minutes daily. Prabhupada said every devotee should read Krishna book. So Prabhupada had a scientific reason to tell us why to read Krishna book. Krishna book will help us understand whether we are on this principle of religion, finding happiness in happiness of Lord. So that's the second principle. And the third principle is, Maharaj Yadu, where am I? Maharaj Yadu was ready to accept his father's order, exchange youth for old age, because he was confident that youth taken by his father would be returned. But because this exchange would delay his complete engagement in devotional service, he did not want to accept his father's old age, for he was eager to achieve freedom from disturbances. And this is the third principle of religion. Let me just continue. Moreover, among descendants of Yadu would be Lord Krishna. Therefore, because Yadu was eager to see Lord's appearance in his dynasty, as soon as possible, Yadu refused to accept his proposal. This was not irreligious, however, because Yadu's purpose was to serve the Lord. This is the third principle of religion. The third principle of religion is, for higher religious principles, you can sacrifice lower religious principles. So that's what Yadu did now. To follow orders of father is religious. Definitely. You can't say it's not irreligious. You have to follow orders of your father, mother. But for higher religious principles, to serve God, you can forego the orders, to follow orders of father, mother. And that's what is Bhagavad Gita all about. Arjuna was giving the list of moral principles. Arjuna, I will not fight because of this, because How do you accept me to kill my guru? And Prabhupada says in purport, Krishna, you didn't kill your own guru in any of his pastimes, and you're asking me to do that. It's fully immoral. Arjuna gives all moral statements. Krishna says, you fool, morals is religious, but there's another religious principle. For higher religious principles, you can give away lower religious principles. Morals is lower religious principles as compared to love. So you love me, you follow what I am saying, that is love. And then that is not a religion. So that's the third religious principles. That is why Prabhupada says Maharaj Yadu was fully acquainted with religious principles. And that is why Krishna took birth in his family. And this is what it shows. It shows that if we want to please Krishna, we have to be very intelligent. We have to have knowledge. We have to understand religion properly. And that's why Bhagavatam says, Yagge Sankirtana Prayajanti Sumedasa. My devotees are very intelligent. Prabhupada says in Chaitanya Charitamrita, who is a Uttamadhikari? Uttamadhikari is a person who is Shastra Sunipun, who understands scriptures very nicely, who understands Prabhupada books very nicely. Prabhupada always complained, devotees are not reading my books. Prabhupada said, devotees are distributing my books but not reading. Prabhupada many times said. So if you read books, you distribute double amount of books. And Prabhupada said in one of his lecture, Prabhupada wrote a letter to GBC and Prabhupada said, I want all my devotees to read all my books. So when you read Prabhupada's all books, small books, big books, lectures, conversations, letters, then we get understanding of Prabhupada's mood and mission. His purports are so deep. He's developing a logic. He's giving so deep principles. Prabhupada's books are simple yet deep. Prabhupada's small books are not small. They are, if you can read, so you should read that book, Elevation to Krishna Consciousness. Everything is small book. It says about your soul, you're not this body, and it goes right up to Mahabhav of Radharani. It's a small book. What do you do with that? They're not small. You can read your whole life. Prabhupada's big books are not big, because they're so big, hefty books, but even a child can read Bhagavatam. They can penetrate this Bhagavatam. So small books are offering us realizations of Prabhupada, because when Prabhupada is speaking small books, he's just speaking continuously. So when you speak continuously, you give your realizations, all realizations. Big books, Prabhupada is giving contextual understanding of every verse, just like here. So you get that. Letters give you the fire of preaching. If you read Prabhupada letters, again and again Prabhupada is saying, preach, 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 preach. The fire of preaching is there in the books, but it's not, it's hidden. Letters, it is like Prabhupada is pushing. So letters have their own role. Room conversations, they help us. Prabhupada is teaching us how to argue, how to preach. Guests are coming, Prabhupada is preaching. Morning walks, Prabhupada is answering various queries of devotees. So it's solving our doubts. So different books of Prabhupada, different tapes, they're helping us to get an entire overview of Krishna consciousness. You can't replace one small book with big book or letters. Okay, I'll not read letters. Everything has different role. That's what Prabhupada, these purports are very scientific, very systematic. And here is purport's end. Prabhupada says here, because Yadu was faithful servant of Lord Krishna appeared in his dynasty. This is called faith. Faith means being intelligent. Prabhupada says faith means having knowledge of scriptures. And having knowledge of scriptures means understanding Prabhupada books as it is. Prabhupada books are everything for us now. That's everything. You can read, I have practically read all sampradayas, all books. I mean to say, because, when I read Prabhupada books initially, I thought it's so simple. We feel like that, no? Prabhupada is repeating, it's so boring. Anyway, it happens. So then I was thinking maybe I should read other books. So I read Madhva Sampradaya books. For that I learned Sanskrit. Then I read Vallabh Sampradaya books. I read Gujarati. I learned Gujarati. Then I read Nimbak Sampradaya books. For that I learned Rajasthani. Their books are Rajasthani. Then I read Sri Sampradaya books. Most of them are in Divya Prabandham, so I learned Tamil. Then I read Kanak Das, Purandar Das. For that I learned Kannada. Then all our Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy. For that I learned Bengali. And then after so many years, after 15 years, after 12 years of learning everything, then I again read Prabhupada books, and I came to conclusion I wasted my time. Seriously. it's a it's a waste of time because you get everything in Prabhupada books if you read properly. But Prabhupada books have everything. But the technique is you have to read all books of Prabhupada to get a full perspective and to penetrate them. And that's why Prabhupada says Yadu was a faithful servant of Lord. And then Prabhupada finishes purport. Then you can read just few lines. I finish his purport. And thank you very much for hearing me. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Any questions? If you have 1 minute, I don't know, Archit Prabhu. Any questions if anybody wants to ask otherwise? Yes, Prabhu. Yes. Yeah. Well, I have read many. So practically, I'm heading a Varnashram project in India, and I'm doing research in that many years. But what I concluded by reading all these dharma shastras, you can read, and it can become very confusing. There are many things out there, but the point is, the only thing which can make Varnashram successful is insights of Prabhupada. Prabhupada gives all hints. Prabhupada says, I have given all hints and all details in my books. So we have to read Dharma Shastras from the perspective of Prabhupada. And then it can make work. Because what you see, Dharma Shastras, they give principles and in theory. But Prabhupada gives practical details. That's not there in Dharma Shastras. This age is different, no? So Prabhupada gives the practical details. Prabhupada takes those principles, put it practically for us. That's what we want. And that's why reading Prabhupada books can help us. So I'll give you an example. In Dharma Shastra it is said, right from age of 5, you should see whether the boy is a Brahmin or Kshatriya or Vaishya Shudra. Is it? Psychology of a boy, and you should accordingly train him. So Brahmana, you should give knowledge. Shudra, you should not give knowledge. You should engage in practical activity. Kshatriya, fighting. Okay, like this. But Prabhupada says in one of his purport, Prabhupada says, well, till 16 years you cannot know. 16 years, psychology of a boy is not well developed. So what do? Prabhupada says, you expose him to all branches of knowledge. Let him choose slowly. Because Prabhupada says, till 16 years he can change his mind. It's very difficult to know his psychology, especially in this age, where we are all confused and our personalities are so messed up. For some you can know, yes, he's a Brahman. Very, and for many it's very confusing. So Prabhupada increased that limit to age of 16. Now, is there any scriptural evidence for that? I looked, I didn't find. Because all the dharmic scriptures, they say, right from age of 5, you should know what's the psychology and then put him in that category. And many other sampradayas, they look at astrological chart and they know whether there's a Brahman, Kshatriya, and they train him. But Prabhupada 16 years. But then I was looking, but then I read Shandilya Smriti. Shandilya Smriti, there is a Dharma Shastra. And in that I got quotation that till 16 years, a man is a womb, a man is a baby. You cannot recognize his psychological tendencies. It's very difficult. So after 16 years, you should actually pinpoint whether he's a Brahmin, Kshatriya, Shudra or that. And I got a quotation. And how did Prabhupada know it? That's the point. So the point is, Prabhupada is being dictated by Krishna. There's no doubt about it. I don't know whether Prabhupada read all Dharma Shastras or not. I don't know. Probably has read or not. But many of his godbrothers were much more scholarly than him, at least in scholarliness, externally. But Prabhupada knew this. One statement you don't find in any scripture, just one scripture you find. I think it is in Shandilya Smriti and also it is in Gobhila Smriti. It's there and I found. So Prabhupada books are perfect. If you go by traditional culture, you will be in problem because you'll be looking for Brahman, Kshatriya at the age of 5, and then we'll end up like all orthodox people, astrology and this and that. Forget it. In this Kali Yuga, you give time to child, let him develop. He will himself choose what he is. That's the example. So Prabhupada books are the basis for Varnashram. His every statement, Prabhupada might not give a scriptural backup for his statement, but his statements are scriptures. Scriptures, scriptures do not make devotees. Devotees make scriptures, pure devotees. So Prabhupada made a scripture. This is a scripture. That's what our conviction is. That's what my research shows. So every statement of Prabhupada is, if we pinpoint it, comes. Okay, so that's it. Hare Krishna. Yeah, so. Oh, in Kali Yuga cell phone. No, it's required. No, it helps, but cannot pinpoint. It assists. It is a Vedic knowledge. It assists, but many times it is not 100%. Astrology itself says that right in the first statement of astrology. So we have two books of astrology. So one is Hora Shastra, another is Brihat Parashar Smriti. So statement right in the beginning comes, astrology can predict 50%. That's all. 50% is there in your Purusharth. Your Purusharth, your activities, destiny is just 50%. And that 50% also, astrology makes a next statement. If you're a devotee of Krishna, that also doesn't affect you. Many astrologers, if you say, I am devotee of Krishna, they will, if they are good astrologers, they'll say, why you have come to us? Astrology book says, if you are with Krishna, it doesn't work as it has to work. We are directly under realm of Krishna. Krishna might allow your astrological influences to go on within his plan. He might allow. And it might seem your astrology is working, you see. But it's not, because Krishna is allowing some things to go on, Krishna is blocking some things. So if you go to astrologer and you say, oh, he told me this and it's working. Actually, it's not astrological influence. This Krishna is allowing that to happen to you. Sometimes it will not work. He'll just block everything. He is planning our life. So that's in astrology. So it helps to a certain extent, but not always. Not always. At least for Krishna devotees, it's a different dimension. And for everybody also, it's becoming complex. And that to 50%. For non-devotees, 50%. For devotees, it's like maybe sometimes 0%. Like that. Okay. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Thank you for listening.